What? You asked who is Neo from the Neomask channel? Didn't you know? This is the psychopath Sunbin. A beautiful girl with glasses said. The manager of the Neomask channel Joy. Hi Minji. Sitting on a chair in front of a magazine and asking a colleague. After that, she began to explain. Sunbin wasn't always a psychopath. He lost his only family member because of school bullies. Sunbin's younger sister had nothing to do with them. Another manager of the Neomask channel answered, sadness. Kim Siha. She's not a cause of harm to anyone. A quiet, modest girl. Then another manager of the Neomask channel began to speak, pleasure. Okay Tiang. While swinging your biceps dumbbells. And yet, she died just ridiculously. Immediately, the girl picked up the conversation and decided to explain. One non-entity wanted to show himself. He jumped out on the road so that people would say about him that he had balls of steel. Then the girl began to put her notebook in her briefcase, continuing to explain. The bus driver swerved sharply. And the next moment they show us the side bomber who ran out onto the road. He immediately stopped in the middle of the lane and spread his arms to the sides, standing right in front of the bus. The driver abruptly turned the steering wheel and flew out onto the sidewalk, on which the sister of the main character was just the same. And Sunbin's sister, his only family, Cha Yenbin. She stopped on the floor of the ward manager and, having missed the details, continued. No parents, no relatives of any kind. They were the only ones each other had. In general, after that, Cha Sunbin went crazy and started a bloody hunt. I was standing in an abandoned building, in front of a group of hooligans who were warming themselves by a barrel with a fire. One of them started contacting me, asking a question. What? That bitch who jumped out on the road? Who are you anyway? After that, he turned to his comrades to laugh at me. Such a jerk. He's been looking for you for several days. As soon as I heard these words, my eyes immediately lit up red. After all, I found the one I need. Maybe hit him once. Well, this guy managed to finish, as I was already standing behind him with my fist raised to strike. The next moment, all the friends of the bully who jumped out on the road were out, and I was walking in his direction. Stay back, you fucking psycho. He was shouting, covered in sweat and trembling with fear. Suddenly, a fist flies into my face, so that the glasses fly away. But in my eyes there was only revenge. Without thinking for a long time, I grabbed his head with one hand, and with the other began to hammer on it. Tell me. Why did only my sister die? I asked while the guy was trying to recover. At the same time, I found a stick on the floor and set it on fire. The bully started screaming hysterically. That I just wanted to get into the trollfum. To be accepted there, you need to prove that you have balls of steel. I came to my senses a little, my eyes became their native color, but that didn't stop me. Trollfum? I asked and heard the scream again. It's the coolest gang in the country, you fucking idiot. You can start living with them, like the second generation of Cheebles or Smelly Stars. You can even get freaking clothes for free. Every day there are parties in hotels with swimming pools and with a lot of alcohol. And the families of the bitches you have fun with are so influential that you can even bring the police to their knees. Your sister died by accident. He kept yelling. In an instant, a burning stick flashed past his face. The guy was really scared. He glanced at the weapon with which I could kill him now and screamed in fear. Looking into his eyes, I started talking. So my sister died because you freaks wanted a beautiful life? The bully started crawling away from me and screaming. Help. To help. Mammy. He was ready to burst into tears on the spot. I must. Revenge. I spoke as if into the void. What's wrong with me? Really this? No. No. Yeben. I was muttering to myself. Any passerby would think I was crazy. But gathering my thoughts, I asked. Now. What should I live for now? Suddenly, while I was standing there looking crazy and the bully was hoping to save his life, the phone rang behind my back. The guy stretched out his hand and said, telephone. I looked at him sharply, full of rage. Then he went to the phone and picked it up. There was a call from a man named Yongchi Olsu. I picked up the phone and heard a scream. Hey, asshole. What the fuck are you waiting for? Trollfum left a comment in your profile. My eyes kept looking at the phone. I remembered the guy's words that in order to be accepted into Trollfum, you need to prove that you have balls of steel, after which I logged into his account and saw a comment from Trollfum, which said that they wanted to invite you there. Looking at the phone, I briefly threw. Okay. After that, I went up to the barrel with the fire and threw the phone into it, addressing the bully. Yeben. Your big brother will avenge you. To all Trolfum and other bad guys. To every scumbag in this world. I won't stop until they're all burning in hell. That was my story, while the people from the agency continued to discuss it. Do you want to know where Sunbin directed his indignation? Obviously. What happened to that bully? Missing in action. What about Trolfum? I think they may also fall under his wrath. This was all said by the head of the rating agency, Buck Dukil. Suddenly, the girl took the floor. The true goal for him is the Society of Scoundrels itself. While she was talking, she was reaching for the wig, and as soon as she took it, she continued. A society that consists of those who shit themselves and wet their pants, it is only necessary to scare them. Then the next guy who poured the strange liquid took the floor. Hunting scoundrels is not justice. Is it possible to call toxic chemicals an instrument of justice? He asked. Do we want to stop Sunbin? Even if there is a yes, then how? The previous girl with the wig asked. He pays a lot, so I'm not worried. The director spread his hands. Then, the man who had previously swung from dumbbells began to lift the barbell and speak at the same time. A year after the death of his sister, there is nothing that Sunbin would not have achieved. A minor has such power, can you imagine it? Suddenly, the combat training instructor of the Neomask channel took the floor. Lee Gunboom. Even though I trained him, I would never want to face Sunbin in a fight myself. I would feel insecure even with a gun in my hands. The instructor was supported by a shy young man who had previously transfused the liquid. Finally, Kachek stopped training and started wiping sweat from his head, saying, most of all. Suddenly he thought for a moment and continued. I don't want to die. When will it end already? The question was asked by a pumped-up guy who had already addressed it to me. I paid attention to him and chuckled. Then he made a sweet smile and answered. When will I destroy them all? At what I said it in a questioning tone. Then he put on a mask and was ready for anything. Behind me were all these people who had previously told my story. In front of us, there was a huge crowd of hooligans. Suddenly I was amazed and started talking in a sweet voice. Ah. So many bullies. I'll kill them all. I suddenly yelled. In the end, psychos can only be defeated by the same psychos. And now to other news. Due to the channel that has recently appeared and is gaining worldwide popularity, a huge amount of criticism is coming towards ViewTunnel, the world's first free video hosting service. Nevertheless, more than 10 million people around the world have already subscribed to this channel. His videos collect millions of views, and his income has reached a 9-figure sum. The channel makes a rating of so-called gangsters among young criminals and promises rewards by provoking people to fight with each other or directly with the streamer himself. Thus, mass riots are ignited. The live broadcast of the Neomask channel will begin soon. Confirm. Hello everyone. A man in purple clothes was broadcasting from the screen, his altered voice and mask carefully hiding his identity. Your bright and cool Neomask is with you again. Today we are not in the most popular place in the country. The guy held the phone on a special stick for filming and pointing to the buildings behind him said. In front of you is the district of Tewa. After that, with an energetic movement of his hand, he pulled out of the backpack portraits of people on whom there was an inscription wanted, as well as a reward in the form of money. And here are the new goals. Criminal Kim Hayate, 332nd place in the ranking. The reward is 500,000 won. And also Choi Sanil, the 120th place, the reward for which is 700,000 won. Holding portraits in his hands and saying all this, the expression on the face of the computerized mask changed, but it seemed that he was happy about everything that was happening. After that, the guy threw the portraits behind his back and exclaimed joyfully. Although you are unlikely to be interested in sixes like them. After that, he fished out another portrait from behind his back and spoke in a mysterious voice. Today our main character is Yu Jinmin, the 58th place in the rating. The leaflet depicted a schoolboy with brightly colored red hair. The reward for it is 1,150,000 won. After learning that Kim Taemin decided to start hunting these three, I came here to take everything off. Meanwhile, a man flew behind the operator's back. He landed right on the asphalt with a characteristic sound. What? Hey, Kim Taemin just got a big hit. The guy was lying almost unconscious with a bruised face. You asked me to take everything off, saying that you would hunt them yourself. Clutching his head with his hand, the operator continued to speak, and question marks and exclamations appeared on the mask, as well as a smile stretched to the ears. And you said that you would defeat them alone. Here you are a loser. Pointing his finger at the beaten poor guy, the guy in purple began to laugh even harder. Just look at this asshole. I came here from afar to earn money, and in the end I got it myself. He came all this way just to get in the face. Then the guy in purple grabbed the poor guy by the face. Hey, how are you? Looks not very agree. His nose was bleeding, and his cheeks were all bruised and swollen like two buns. It looks like someone will drop in the ranking. Suddenly, an angry voice was heard from the alley. Hey, you bitch. Neon fucking. Do you have any idea how many people who want to catch me, like you, I've already gotten rid of? It was him, the unrecognized head of the Tewa district. Yu Jinman. A moment later, the man in purple was surrounded by a dozen different hooligans and Jinman's henchmen. Well, what carrion? Hana to you. I'm going to take this shitty mask off of you and cut your face into pieces. The main bully was shouting. Mask was perplexed and with a little irony shouted. Wow. How? Where did they all come from? But after a second, the mask's expression changed back to cheerful and he playfully pointed his finger at the leader and shouted. That's what I suggest. I'll give you a reward for those who came to catch you. If you add up all this money, you all have enough for ice cream. Aggressively spitting, the red-haired leader cursed. We'll manage. He shouted. Your antics have been infuriating me for a long time. Your time is up, asshole. And then he aggressively added. People. It's time to remove the mask from this clown. Oh, my god. What should I do? What to do? Mask panicked for a moment, but only for a moment. I came up with it. He shouted playfully. And then joyfully raised his fists up and shouted even louder. Manager, come and put things in order. The sounds of muffled blows and strange screams made the red-haired guy turn around. Turning around, he saw one of his goons already lying on the ground, desperately clutching his head. He was clearly in pain. Damn, what kind of passenger is this? A girl dressed in all blue was standing near the bandit, who was bending in pain. There was a mask on her face, and in her hand she was spinning something strange, but it was immediately clear that this was what she hit that poor guy with. Looking closer, they noticed. This frenzied torment fucked him up with a book. She filled him up with a fucking math textbook. Fear settled in their eyes, but there was no time to be afraid. After all, the girl was already rushing towards the hooligans at full speed, unwinding her weapon. Your mother, screamed one of the thugs, trying to hit the girl on the run. However, she only elegantly dodged the blow. With a childish knee blow to the stomach, she forced the guy out of line. His face was contorted with pain and surprise at the same time. Then she grabbed him by the hair, not letting him fall to the floor. Another knee kick, this time right on the chin. This guy was already definitely out. She moved like a butterfly and stung like a rabid bee. Seeing two allied thugs lying unconscious, the remaining guys froze in fear. Each of them understood that the same fate could await him. The only thing worse than this was the girl's reaction. She laughed the laugh of a malicious witch. I hit it. And then she started humming a strange melody. La la la. Her eyes knew neither horror nor mercy because she herself was that very horror. She just fucked two of our guys and didn't even lift a finger, and now she's singing. Crazy. The faces of the recently confident thugs were filled with fear. Mask continued to broadcast as if nothing had happened, as if not noticing how his so-called manager was bludgeoning one bully after another. Happily showing hearts instead of eyes to the camera, he said sweetly. Oh, Kim's subscriber has paid 50,000 won. Now guys, when our Miss Manager is here with you, she will see who else she will fuck. Ah, Kim, thanks for the 50,000. Then Galaz's masks changed to crosses, and he added. Your good old Neon didn't plan to hunt today. However, since they dared to challenge me to a fight. Attention everyone. Be ready. His voice was even louder than before. He screamed as if nothing had happened. Assholes for whom there is no reward are now worth 1 million won per hit. As for those for whom there is already a reward, this amount increases 300 times. Real horror mixed with surprise appeared on the faces of the hooligans. Suddenly the red-haired man's henchmen looked at each other. It was written on their face that they had given up. After that, each of them rushed in different directions, with such a speed that even the best runners would envy. Hey, you freaks. Where did you run to? Come back quickly. Mask continued to communicate with the camera. I didn't have time to finish the remark, and the sixes already ran away? That's it, haha. The red-haired man, hearing this, realized what situation he was in. A trickle of sweat ran down his cheek. However, he wasn't going to give up yet. Gathering all his strength into one, he shouted. Asshole. Even if I die today, I will kill you. With these words, he rushed at the operator with his fists. However, the mask only said in surprise. Wow. That's how surprised I was. Easily dodging the fist of the Redeed, he instantly counterattacked with 2 blows to the face. In addition, he managed to elegantly shoot it all on camera and even comment. Dodged at the last moment. And bam. Blow. Right in the jaw. And now, friends, it's time to move on to the main spectacle. It's time to move on to the execution. Staggering heavily, the red-haired man squeezed out insults. Gah, that thing. Meanwhile, Mask had set up a tripod, thereby freeing his hands, and the camera was now on the ground. With a quick and accurate tackle, the Redeed was knocked down. Spinning in the air like a bullet, he flew to the ground. After that, a hail of blows rained down on his body. No mercy. Precise blows crashed down on him like a waterfall. Grabbing his finger, the Mask said ironically. It's going to hurt now. After which, a distinct crunching sound was heard. Ah. The contented digital mask reflected the agony of the red-haired man. Without changing the tone, the mask spoke. A few days ago, I received a complaint about you. Torturing innocent female students? Violence, blackmail, attacks. But despite this, due to the fact that you are a minor, you have not received proper punishment. Extending his hand, the digital mask's facial expression was cheerful and the voice was carefree. What a beautiful country we have, damn it. But moving as close as possible to the bandit's face, he said. I can't stand it when trash like you is running around on the loose. You'll learn discipline from me through horror and pain, you son of a bitch. Then, grabbing his face, he showed it to the camera. Guys, are there many of you who were offended by this asshole? Let's double my actions. For every donation in the amount of 1,001, I will punch him twice. While saying this, his mask showed 2 exclamation marks instead of eyes, and his hand showed 2 fingers, emphasizing the double discount for the blow. By the way, donations to my personal account for today will go to the treatment and rehabilitation of the injured girl. After these words, the donates flew at the speed of light. 1,000 and 1 more. 10,000. 50,000. Thank you. Thank you. After which, he reached into his pockets. Where is it? Where? I take the Neomask out of the universal pocket. A small theatrical pause. Yes, yes. Multifunctional stainless brass knuckles of true education. Brass knuckles appeared on his hands, which looked intimidating to put it mildly. And now? The mask happily declared, watching the red-haired man's horror. Let's start our educational party. My hands move by themselves. To give these pathetic bandits a hard time. He continued to comment without ceasing to hit the Redeed in the face. A hail of blows rained down on him. You will get a good flight even if you defend yourself. Children's hands. The hands of adults. My hands move on their own. Watching all this, the manager thought to herself. This lunatic is overreacting again. Beaten almost to unconsciousness, the red-haired man squeezed out a hoarse voice. Stop. I was wrong. Spare me. I beg you. His nose was smashed and blood was gushing out of it. The cheeks were bruised, and in general there seemed to be no living place on the face. The mask stopped for a moment. Was he wrong? Spare you? Putting his hand to his face, his voice changed for a moment. Hey! He exclaimed. The aura changed in the blink of an eye. Now it was dark, as if the demon himself had possessed him. In a creepy and dark voice, he said. I advise you not to resist, you bastard. And I'll kill you faster. The digital mask no longer displayed a cheerful face. And not even a smile. It was like the face of the devil himself. Unprecedented horror seized the former bandit lying on the ground. His eyes filled with tears, and he roared like a boy. And when the mask swung for a ridge of the next blows, the manager stopped him. Okay, that's enough for him. Yu Jinmin is defeated. It's time to wrap up. Calm down, Neon. The girl said in a calm voice. The panting mask turned to her, his digital eyes again showing the usual crosses. Grabbing the beaten crying guy by the head, he began to speak. Listen up, you fucking gangster. To atone for your guilt, first you will return all the money to all the students. And if I find out that you're digging into others, or you're doing gang shit again in any form. He was quiet for a moment. And then his voice became darker again. Know that I will hunt you until you end up in a coffin. You should understand that I, like you bastards, live only for these moments. After that, the guy showed 2 fingers as a sign of victory to the camera, and his victim, repenting through tears, said. I won't do it anymore. Ouch. Hearing the sound of flashing lights, the mask said. It seems that cop cars are coming here. If they catch me, I'm finished. While saying this, his expression changed to sadness for a split second. And then he cheered up again and turned to the camera. All right. For today, the broadcast has come to an end. There were a lot of fun moments. You had fun, didn't you? Put your thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and click on the bell. Friends, did you like today's broadcast? Sneakers, leggings and a hat like our Miss Manager you can buy in the monthly catalog of the Yushin store. Then he pointed his fingers down and his eyes changed to arrows pointing down. Follow the link below. Yushin store. A few hours later on one of the deserted sports grounds. The man in the purple tracksuit was breathing heavily. After taking off the mask, sweat trickled down my face. It's hard. After catching my breath for a while, I finally came to my senses. Putting on my glasses, I turned around and decided to ask to make sure. Is everything okay, Jai Hyatt? Suddenly, a schoolgirl came around the corner in a beautiful uniform, neatly gathered hair, and round glasses. She carried a black briefcase in her hands. Every time I wonder how she manages to reincarnate like that. Everything is fine. She replied softly and then added. Let me help you change. Okay, I agreed. Pulling on the sleeves of my hoodie, she freed me from her captivity. Buttoning up my white official shirt, I exclaimed with a smile. I still can't get used to you when you're in the role of manager and when you're not. The girl answered confusedly. What are you saying? And how am I supposed to get used to the fact that you and a neon nuclear psychopath are the same person? I added indignantly. The girl seemed not to pay attention and put my purple suit in a backpack. I told you to bring other managers with you. Putting the mask in my bag, I answered her. Siha and Tiyang are on probation. The girl hit me on the head, but not too hard, and screamed. I'm on probation too, actually. Here you are a blockhead. I shyly rubbed the place of impact. You will be the first even if you don't study. Holding my suit in her hands, the girl noticed. The clothes from the sponsors are already in such a state. And still, even if I wanted to, I couldn't afford it. Indeed, some scuffs and small holes were already visible on the clothes. Thanks to today's broadcast, we will receive supplies from clothing manufacturers. I will get a suit for you. I said cheerfully. After all, a lot of people watch our broadcasts. We can't keep up with fashion. The girl smiled. Then I'll leave it to you, boss. A little bit later. I entered my apartment. Quiet as always. The chic interior was perfectly complemented by the view from the window. Entering my office, I glanced at the awards from the video hosting hanging on the wall in frames. And when we were just gaining such a number of subscribers. Pressing the Home Assistant button, I said. Hi Siri. Read today's messages. Not a minute behind, the assistant began to speak. One message from the chief director of the Park Ducal. While taking a shower, I listened to the message left to me. Neon. You've hit everyone again. I sent you the letters from the district's high school students that you requested. I have selected all the main bandits and even sixes, so when the information is confirmed, I am waiting for a deposit from you. Looking at myself in the mirror located in the shower, I watched a young guy in great shape, whose muscles were emphasized by numerous cuts and scars all over his body. After the shower, I went to the living room as usual. My gaze went to the screen that showed information about the country. Neon Mask crime status across the country 24 hours live broadcast. There was a map of the whole country and pockets of crime in the regions. In addition, the areas cleared of criminals were marked in green. Looking at her, I realized how much work I still had to do. My gaze exuded nothing but darkness. After all, right behind this screen, outside the window, the very tower was clearly visible. My goal. The tallest building in the city, surrounded by neon light. I looked straight at her. Somewhere out there in this building, there was my opponent. One day I will meet him. Maybe he's looking right at me right now? At the same time in the red building. Hey Daniel, what are you doing? It's time to have fun. Exactly. I squeezed the towel with all my strength. I can't wait. I'll show you the price of fun. Trollfum. My voice was filled with anger and a thirst for murder. A large school building made of orange brick. Orange cones are lined up in front of the entrance to the school playground. Well, here are the results of the exams for the first semester. The teacher spoke. We were handed sheets of paper with the final plate printed on them, which was full of numbers measuring our knowledge, so to speak. Sunbin, a classmate, called out to me, looking at my sheet over her shoulder, "You look like a nerd. Why do you have such bad scores?" When he just transferred a month ago, another classmate of mine spoke up, "They flew like kites. I thought that we were facing the fairies of the entrance exams." Yes, I said, embarrassed and smiling stupidly. I know. I'm really trying, but it's not working out. Well, that's fine. The brunette snorted, smiling. Nowadays, you can live well without studying. Maybe a classmate decided to suggest and slapped me on the shoulder. Do you want to register in View Tunnel? Yes, the girl supported the idea. There are channels on which guys record how they do, and it's not necessary to say something. They remembered a video of a guy with glasses reading a book to himself. With a short caption of the video, I am studying white noise. And if you take off your glasses, the boy continued to throw his ideas, you will look presentable. Who knows, it might work. A guy with a sly fox look suddenly sneaked behind him and was silent expectantly. As soon as the classmate finished his speech, he slapped him hard on the back of the head. What nonsense. He snorted and laughed loudly. Who here wants to become a blogger? He asked the audience a question, grinning and keeping his hands in his pants pockets. Are you, or what? No. The victim stammered, clutching at the place of injury. This bully with a fox look immediately squinted in my direction. I looked down at my desk. Hey. He exclaimed and immediately grabbed a handful of my hair and pulled on himself. He was looking down at me, pulling my head back by the hair in the same way. You're the jerk who transferred recently, aren't you? He asked, grinning. Just rely on yourself. The young man chuckled. Got it? And his smile began to look more like the grin of a hyena that is always hiding behind someone's back. Hey. He shouted immediately, as soon as he noticed the looks of classmates in our direction, and immediately rushed in their direction. And what are you staring at, losers? How are you? I asked, immediately approaching my classmate, who caught a blow. I think even in the best schools, there are guys like him. Furthermore, I said, helping him up. Damn. The boy swore, rubbing the bruised place. You're right. In a forest without a tiger, a fox rules. This animal, as soon as he ran up to the gaping classmates, he immediately snatched out his mobile and threw it on the floor. He doesn't even belong to any of the local gangs. So, Neomask is unlikely to take it up. My friend reasoned. I immediately looked in the direction of the bully, adjusting my glasses on my face. We'll see. I muttered, adjusting the camera so that the angle fell on the troublemaker. Do you think Neomask will come after all? My friend muttered, but this school hyena still got into the camera's visibility. It was getting dark. The sun was already setting, and the clouds were acquiring pleasant peach and apricot shades. With a noise, my backpack landed on the surface of the sofa, and school supplies clattered hollowly inside the bag. I lay down on the sofa, using my backpack as a pillow, and, covering my eyes with my hand, sighed heavily. This grinning face of a classmate who enjoyed the suffering of other people came back to my eyes. I took my hand away and looked at the ceiling in order to dispel the sickening picture in my mind. Maybe I should pretend, I began to think aloud, that someone had reported him and punished him? Sunbin? Suddenly there was a scream in my apartment and I jumped up sharply. Yes? I answered the call, rising from a recumbent position. A housewarming party. My friend with a shock of dyed hair and a bag of groceries shouted out. Everyone was present. Hye Minji stood with a slight smile, her hands in the pockets of her jacket. Kim Siha was looking around the apartment aloof, not even paying attention to me. OK Tiang was just smiling contentedly, being present in this group. And again, Buck Dukil was smiling contentedly, holding 2 black bags of groceries and waving them. Soon, after a while, even strips of bacon with a good layer of fat were already laid out on the grill. There were bowls of sauces and plastic cups of drinks around the grill. What kind of housewarming party where guests are served bacon? The brown-haired woman in round, medium-sized glasses was surprised. Do I have to spray oil? I was sitting in the center of the table, tense from the whole idea, as well as from Hye Minji's remark. Buck Dukil, on the contrary, rejoiced like a child, enjoying the roasting meat, sometimes cutting small pieces from a slice of bacon. Kim Siha and OK Tiang were filling their plates with snacks. Anyway, he moves every 2 or 3 months. The brown-haired woman snorted. Why do we do it every time? Just think of it as a get-together with friends. Tiang interrupted her, eating cabbage for his pleasure. Siha, my friend, pass the protein shake, please. He asked and immediately pointed to the side. What proteins, you haven't eaten rice yet. Minji was immediately indignant. Do you want the muscles to disappear? Sunbin, here you go. Eat quickly. Dukil said, handing me a pile of sliced bacon on a cabbage leaf. Minji was puzzled by what was happening. Are you building a tower? I earned so much thanks to Sunbin. The guy with a shock of bleached hair said and clasped his palms together, even blushed with joy. Boss, let's earn even more next year. By the way. The girl grinned, leaning on her palm. How much did we earn on sales this month? Including advertising and copyright revenue. Dukil immediately grinned and, looking in her direction, raised 3 fingers and bent the rest. Are you kidding? The girl immediately exclaimed. I demand a salary increase. I present to you a new plant-based weapon. Kim spoke ominously, holding a bottle by the lid. If this hits you, it will burn. Hey, Minji exclaimed indignantly, are you putting your chemicals on the table again? Let's go back to income. Without being distracted for a long time, she exclaimed and looked again in the direction of Buck Dukil. I also contribute, where is my share? I, watching everything that is happening, just laughed loudly in response. After a while, there was an empty grill on the table, some plates, partially some still full, empty cans of alcohol. Wow, I'm full. It was heard at the table. Juice? Who needs juice? Buck Dukil asked happily, holding some kind of container. Pour me a drink, please. Kim agreed and held out a glass. I'll go into the room, I said, only smiling and scratching my head, I'll rest a little. We brought the board, I heard in response from behind the table. So come back soon. While friends were talking to each other and asking what to serve to whom, Minji silently kept her eyes on me, as if suspecting something. Jai Haya, do you want some juice? Dukil asked her, but she seemed to ignore him. Pear, you'll like it. I went into the other room. The lights are off in it, but it is dimly lit because of the computer running. Next to a small computer table, there is a board with some information attached to it. Lower is a low bedside table on which the helmet lies in the off state. A lot of papers with printed text on them are attached with square lengths of tape. Some notes on this or that information are also written on the board, as well as small-sized photos are attached. I opened the first drawer of the dresser. It was practically empty, except for a framed photograph. A carefree Chayeban squats on it and shows a victory sign. I took the frame in my hands and looked at this photo. About our new goals. Minji said, standing in the doorway and blocking the light from the other room. Have you collected all the information? She asked as if nothing had happened. Sure. I said in response and grinned. As soon as the 4th manager gives the go-ahead, we will start shooting. And then what? Minji persisted, and the angle of my vision changed to a helmet. When you catch all the guys from Trollfam, what will you do next? Yeah. I said and stopped thinking a little. The remaining money will go to scholarships for students. I said. I've been thinking about investing here. Wouldn't it be better to stop possible attacks by those who like to mock others? I asked a rhetorical question right there. The fact is that because of these underage bandits, the reputation of workers and couriers is declining. Besides, I was continuing my speech when suddenly Minji, who suddenly came up, abruptly put a helmet on my head. I asked. Minji spoke already in raised tones and abruptly turned me to face her. What are you going to do next? She spoke with pressure and notes of rage. I can't believe we'll meet again after you catch all the assholes from Trollfam. But I just silently looked at her through the helmet that she put on me so abruptly. This is too much, Jai Haya. I exclaimed joyfully, grabbing the cheeks in the helmet, and a joyful smiley face immediately appeared on the equipment. Do you really only see neon in me? It seems to me, very angry that the wreaths on her face were already swollen, the girl said, and put her hand on my helmet. That living on is not in your plans. She looked at her stern reflection in the helmet and did not take her gaze off. If it is possible to solve this problem in our country, I spoke back to her, and completely protect innocent students. When the time comes. At that moment, outside the door of the room, Tiang was standing with his arms crossed on his chest, and next to him, Se's pistol was twirling in his hand. I will open my own chain of fast food restaurants. I immediately exclaimed at the end on a joyful note and got into a pose. Only in prisons and only for bandits. We'll take their shit and put it in burgers, and then. I reasoned, mocking my idea. How fucking disgusting. The girl exclaimed, moving away from me a little further. I won't be able to eat burgers anymore because of you, you son of a bitch. Minji swore, immediately leaving the room and burning with anger at me. I was just mocking, still wearing a helmet. I'll tell you what, Neon. She spoke more calmly, stopping at the door. I would like you to start a new life after catching the Trollfam. Don't forget that they are the criminals, not you. She said. I was looking at her back, listening to her words, while the framed photo standing alone was already on the surface of the table. In South Korea because of these bastards. I said and put the brushes in the lock. Many people cannot live as before, even if they have not committed crimes. So don't worry about me, I continued, hanging my head down, Jai Hiya. As long as there is at least one stupid bully in the world, I will be immortal. I said and looked in her direction, and the eyes of electronics became slits. Minji sighed and spoke. Dukil promised to buy ice cream. Let's go eat. I exclaimed, raising my hands in the air, and Minji finally left the room. So, fuck. Chief. A man's voice rang out in one of the street eateries. If you leave ads on us, you will get a lot of visitors. Plump man with pale red dyed hair was strutting. And you'll earn a fucking lot of money, right? He is surrounded by sixes. 2. A guy in a cap and a guy with varnished gray hair. Opposite is a guy and a girl. Both are wearing red aprons and masks. No. The man was indignant, lowering the mask from his face. I understand what you're getting at, but we're not going to do it. Guy with his hair combed straight looked outside the diner at a guy with glasses passing by. He caught the look of the bully, immediately covered with perspiration, and tried to leave as soon as possible. Hey, the guy with the ash-colored hair spoke up and grinned, that's enough, let's go. See you later, chief. He exclaimed, already smiling, ostensibly friendly, and leaving the establishment. If you come again, I'll call the police. The man shouted back. Fuck, a man in weight swore, old jerks are stubborn with all their might. We'll set them on fire and be done with it. He grinned and laughed, happy with his idea. I like their chicken, the guy in the cap muttered a little disappointed, but it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Have you seen it? The guy with the ash-colored hair grinned and pointed to one of the eateries. A jerk from high school works here. Yes. The ash-haired man's words were confirmed. What's his name? Like Suman? The boy looked in their direction from the window of the institution and was covered with perspiration from fright. The ash-haired man sat on the bike and leaned on the steering wheel, and the grin never left his face. Find out which school he attends. He said.